The Nintendo 3DS was released by Nintendo in Japan in February of 2011, and everywhere else a month later in March of 2011. As of writing this script, there have been a total of 1,382 games released for the system, which includes all of the eShop titles and physical titles released, or even both. The 3DS eShop launched all the way back in June of 2011, which is kinda weird considering that it was like 3 months released after the 3DS's launch date, but I digress. As for my experiences with the console, I got my 3DS back during Christmas of 2012. Unfortunately, the hinge broke off in 2016 and I didn't get my new 3DS, but I still use to this day until 2017. I guess I was kinda lucky to save my money for the console because 5 years later, in February of 2022, it was announced that Nintendo was killing off both its 3DS and Wii U eShop. To me, I was kinda glad that I stocked up on as many 3DS games as I could then, because without it, I don't know what I would have done. What's bad about this though is that we can't legally buy the games anymore, which is bad for people who don't even have a 3DS or were planning to get one, and the only way these people could experience these games would be through. Not only that, but as of August 29th, 2022, Nintendo has completely removed the feature to add any function to the 3DS and Wii U eShops via eShop cards. Mind you, that was the only other way people could even buy eShop games for both the 3DS and Wii U. So with that said, I'd like to shed some light on those games that had been released in the past, but didn't receive the necessary fan base whatsoever to strive. Since the 3DS had tons of games, it would be impossible to round up every game on the system, so I'm keeping it limited to around 5 to 6 games in total for each video. While I would like to go over the most notable 3DS games released, I think it's best to give other games a chance in the spotlight, more obscure ones to be more exact. My only rules are that each game can be released in any region and the rating for them doesn't matter, meaning the game can be as bad or good as it wants, but must also have an eShop release and no physical release. I'll make an exception for games that were released for the 3DS but saw a limited physical release, since they still had an eShop release. Now that we got that out of our system, let's begin with the first game in this video. Let's start off with a game you can only access via My Nintendo. In March of 2016, Nintendo started up a successor to Club Nintendo called My Nintendo. Unfortunately, most people criticized it for not having physical rewards and just being a weird service in general. Now, of course, physical rewards were added later on during the service's lifespan, but that's besides the point. One of the rewards that My Nintendo had back in the day was a little known software known as My Nintendo Picross: The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. It was just a simple reskin of other 3DS Picross games at the time. But to me, there was always something so special about this game. It kinda got me into Picross games as a whole, looking back at it. I remember those days when I would take my 3DS everywhere just to play some Picross, and for 1,000 My Nintendo Platinum points, it was a good time waster. But let's not take a trip down memory lane so quickly. To explain what this game is like, this game has 3 main modes. Those modes being regular Picross, which is the main game mode, Mega Picross, which is normal Picross, but the puzzles are harder to solve, and Micross, which has you solving a collection of other Picross puzzles to create one large image. Since the game was created before Miiverse shut down, you could have used the puzzles you solved as stamps in the Miiverse app up until it shut down. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's a fun game and a time waster, and it's technically for free through My Nintendo, and there isn't even any in-game purchases or DLC. The game is completely for free, so give it a shot if you haven't. Or at least before the eShop shuts down, you know, heh. Next up on the list are 2 games this time around, Word Logic and Word Puzzles by POWGI, or at least if that's how you pronounce the name POWGI, you know? These 2 games are just simple word puzzles, however across both titles are various different games between the 2. Word puzzles include 6 games, those being Word Maze, Mix-Ups, One Word, Flowers, Circles, and Crossovers, while Word Logic includes 6 other games as well, with those being Crisscross, Ladders, Word Sudoku, Crypto, Word Sweeper, and Gaps. Between the 2 titles, Word Puzzles happens to have amiibo support, a feature not included in Word Logic. What's even stranger to note is that Word Puzzles released first in February of 2016, while Word Logic released in August of 2016. Could this be because of some complications between the 2 titles when it came to amiibo support, or is it because of some random stuff that happened behind the scenes? Whatever the case, I can't really tell, nor can I really care, honestly. Later on down the line, however, Word Puzzles was re-released on Nintendo Switch in October of 2018, though it removed the amiibo support and added DLC for $2 each. If you're a Word fan, this game is quite fun and I recommend giving it a try if you want to kill some time. Or if you'd like, you can always purchase the separate games that are about $8 each. Yeah, just get Word Puzzles on Nintendo Switch if you're a Word Puzzle enthusiast, not the $8 separate games. Infamous for being one of the most expensive eShop games ever made for the 3DS, PDI Check isn't really a game. It's more or less an application more than anything. For $100, you think you could do more with that? Well, no. What's interesting to note about this game was that before it was used for medical purposes, specifically for eyesight, with the software being developed in collaboration with Robert Arnold, a doctor from the Alaska Children's Eye and Strabismus office, and Alex Darmagian, a software developer who mainly specializes in art and 3D modeling for video games. Before the app publicly released in May of 2019, this was mainly used privately for medical usage only. While the price is quite steep, being used initially for medical research, what made me stop and think to buy this application? What made me decide that today was the day I was going to purchase this game? Well, I'm glad you asked. Back in 2020, there was this little thing called quarantine. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but many places went on lockdown because of it. Long story short, the developers essentially sold the game for the low price of $5. Yes, you heard me right. $5. But you might be asking yourself, what is this application like? When you boot up the game, you are sent into a short eye exam to test your vision. After that, you have the option between 3 different modes: stereo, acuity, and color. There's also a results tab which tells you the amount of orientation time and total time you spent using the software, but it's not really useful. Overall, this app is definitely not the most polished, but the background and lore behind it is sort of what makes it different from other applications, being used as some sort of app that doctors could use on patients. In my humble opinion, I think the $100 price tag is a bit too steep though for this app. I guess people can sort of exploit it if the software was at a much lower price, but it could just be me talking, who knows. Here's the first of many Japan exclusive games that are going to be reviewed in this series. Nikki's Travel Quiz, a game that was exclusively released to Japanese Club Nintendo members, which means that you can't legally obtain this game anymore. So what the fuck do we do from here? There's always other measures, I guess. Nikki's Travel Quiz was released on April 21st, 2015 for the now defunct Club Nintendo service. Kinda strange how it was released late into the Club Nintendo service, but I ain't judging, you know? The game stars Nikki from the previously released Swap Note application, which is also dead because people wouldn't stop sending such horrendous messages to others. You sick dumb fucks never learn, do you? Anyways, the game was developed by Jupiter, who's been a notable developer for Nintendo by making most Picross games in the past. Oh yeah, and Pokemon Pinball too. That's pretty cool, you know? Before moving on to the gameplay, can I just say that I love the art style of this game? I'm really glad they reused it for Swap Doodle and all the other modern Nikki appearances as well instead of her me. It just makes her stand out more, you know? Alright, gameplay time, and here's the stinker. Since the game was released exclusively in Japan, the game was never translated. Oopsies. For now, I'll just explain the 3 modes included in this game. Travel Quiz will ask you basic questions about all of Japan. Free mode allows you to choose different parts of Japan freely, and you can also view Nikki's diary to view various things about what? I don't know. I really don't know. If you're someone that enjoys Japanese culture and wants to test your skills, then this game is not for you. If you're an English speaker and know nothing about Japanese, good luck finding an English translation of this game, because there is none out there. Absolutely none. Oh yeah, and I guess you could say this game is completely lost in time, but then again, there's always the use of. But then again, that method is completely illegal and not recommended, so yeah, Nintendo strikes again, I guess. To wrap up this selection of games, here's one completely obscure game that was also never released outside of Japan. However, unlike Nikki's Travel Quiz, there's barely anything online about it. It's quite a mysterious game. Even I'd go as far as to say it's one of the most mysterious games on the system I've ever witnessed. Nobody on YouTube has ever talked about it whatsoever. The game is simply known as Real Escape Game X Nintendo 3DS, Escape from the Super Destruction Plan. Yes, as it may seem, there is barely anything online about this game. Just the OST, a few screenshots, a synopsis of the game, gameplay videos, a single trailer, and not to mention a freaking website which is all in Japanese. Okay, stop the music. It's not really creepy anymore. It's more or less being angry about the game now. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, if that wasn't enough, good luck trying to play the other levels on your 3DS. Because if you do end up finding a way to play the game on the non-Japanese 3DS, you cannot, I repeat, cannot progress past the first episode because you need a Japanese keyboard for your 3DS since it was only released in Japan. If that wasn't enough, the entire game is split up into 5 episodes, and you need real money for the game, not dollars, yen, the Japanese currency. I wish those the best of luck who can actually get these episodes up and running outside of a Japanese 3DS, because I am not willing to do it. With that rant out of the way, maybe I should explain more about this game. The game was released in 2015 and was developed by Nintendo in collaboration with Scrap, a Japanese entertainment company that specializes in escape rooms. This would be their first time collaborating with Nintendo, the second time being a collaboration for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time being done in 2017. Scrap wasn't officially formed until 2007 and didn't make its way into America until 2012. Aside from that, the concept of being immersed in a real escape room is quite an interesting one, to say the very least. Once Real Escape Game X Nintendo 3DS released, the game was split into 5 episodes. Episode 1 was priced at 100 yen, but the other 4 episodes were priced at 450 yen. What's interesting to note is that the game also had Amazon listings up as well, specifically on the Japanese Amazon site, because, you know, Japanese exclusive release, hahaha. So moving on, based on the premise of this game, or at least what is given, it starts off with you, the player, learning that there are bombs planted in every Nintendo 3DS in the world, and it's up to you to solve each puzzle to deactivate the bombs. Along the way, you'll be guided by a new character by the name of Realda, along with the salesman bunny from the Street Pass Me Plaza games. Aside from that, if you're not a Japanese player, then all you can really do is just go to the title screen, press play, and get stuck on the first puzzle, because unfortunately you probably don't know Japanese, nor does your non-Japanese 3DS come with a Japanese keyboard. This game seems really cute, but other than that, it's literally unplayable if you don't have a 3DS that's Japanese, which is honestly disappointing considering, you know, this game is quite mysterious and nobody ever talks about it, and I guess I know why now. One more thing to note about this game is that you were able to play with other real players, locally or online, to solve the puzzles together. But yeah, that's all the good I can say about this game. There's really nothing special about this game, and I guess I know why now. And that's all the games I have in store for this episode, as much as I would have loved to get to some other games that were released for the 3DS eShop. I simply don't have the time to get to them on this episode, but I do believe that if I were to do more 3DS reviews like this, it'll definitely be in this format. If you have any 3DS eShop games you'd like to recommend to me, feel free to leave some recommendations down below in the comments, even though you can't really purchase anything anymore. But either way, that's all for now. See you guys later. Bye bye! In all seriousness, how many more games are there? Oh, son of a bitch.